Hello everyone, and welcome back to another Minecraft update video. Earlier in the week we had Snapshot 22W11A, the first of Minecraft 1.19, the wild update. It was a big snapshot. I was also distracted by the release of a Minecraft Beta 2, and so there are lots of details to go over that I missed in my first video. But first of all, we're going to check out an amazing secret found with these new copper horns, which you can play in 3 different ways. Like facing straight forward, and then if you're facing upwards, and last of all if you're holding crouch. And the secret is, all of these sounds can actually be stacked together. Now there are 10 of these horns in total, so let's go ahead and hear the songs that they make when all 3 are played at once. So if you ask me, I'd say that's pretty darn cool. I like it. Minecraft is getting musical, and these horns are obtained also from regular goats, but screaming goats too, which are a lot rarer, so some of them are going to be harder to find. And the ones that drop from the screaming goats are Resist, Yearn, Dream and Fly, and then the copper horns, which are crafted from these, are Fresh Nest Through, Secret Lake Tear, Fearless River Gift, and Sweet Moon Love. It should be noted though that all of this is experimental, and to what extent it's not entirely sure. They can't guarantee that it will be in 1.19. I don't know if that then means it might be in 1.20, but they are looking for feedback, so you can find a link to this in the description box below. And last note on the Bedrock beta, there was also seed templates added, so if you're creating a new world, you go into Advanced, next to the world seed you now have the option to select one of these templates to play in. So let's now get into the details of the Java snapshot and some of the things that I missed, and I teleport over to a random location to start recording, and what do you find? Absolutely epic cave system. But let's not get distracted. We are first of all going to check out the Propagule, and something that I missed is their ability to naturally grow from leaf blocks. Now the ones that I put in will naturally despawn as well, so this means that some of the propagules will spawn and then strangely they actually hang in mid-air. So we're going to turn the random tick speed up to 300, and now you can see that they grow through several growth stages. So when we planted them down on the ground and bone mealed them, these were after they've fully grown and been picked up, so they kind of look different from when they're hanging upside down. Now you can't actually place these onto the leaves, you have to use bone meal to get them to appear, and they kind of appear in a random spot on the leaf block, and in total they have 5 growth stages that you can see here. So the leaf blocks now have some mangrove wood above so that they don't despawn. The game speed is turned up by 10 times, and you can see the propagules are slowly appearing everywhere and starting to grow of their own accord as well. What's interesting about this is that in theory it means that eventually these propagules are going to end up spawning on every single leaf block. However, if these are ones placed by the player, which we can simulate by having the persistent tag, which is what you get when you place one as the player, they don't spawn on those ones, only naturally generated ones. You can, however, bone meal onto ones that are placed by the player. And if you're in survival mode and you break the propagules, they don't drop anything until they've reached the very last growth stage, at which point they drop this one, which you can place on the ground. They can also be put into flower pots and be used as fuel. The mangrove leaves are also subject to biome tint, so they look much more green here in the jungle biome. Now you can pick these blocks up with shears as you would expect, however the netherite hoe doesn't work on the leaf block, and neither does the silk touch enchantment. Those are things you can probably expect to change. So one of the things we didn't get around to was checking out these blocks in survival. The roots over here are the only ones that are flammable. Eventually the fire will spread and those blocks will get burned out. When it comes to instant mine, you can do it with diamond tools and efficiency 3 for the mud. There's no need for silk touch or anything like that with any of these blocks. The muddy mangrove roots are slightly tougher, so you'll need efficiency 4 on your diamond shovel to instant mine that. Now you'll need efficiency 5 and haste, which I have right here, to mine this stuff instantly. And the mud bricks are slightly tougher, but you can instant mine them with haste too. And over time there's just been so many mechanics that have been added into this game. There's just an endless amount of stuff that you can test. As you'll see right here, none of these blocks are replaceable by the growth of moss. And in the last video, I don't think I mentioned it, but you could kind of see it. The muddy mangrove roots are actually directional based, so you can place them on the different axis like you do with logs. And for this video I've got the sounds turned up, so you've probably heard a lot of the block placing and breaking sounds. Here are some of the walking ones. Of course, with these updates, just tons of little sounds get added in. And of course, we also need to do some crude TNT blast resistance testing, so you can get an idea of what they're like. I suspect this one will be far more resistant. Yeah, look at that. Okay, here is the packed mud, very similar. Here is the regular mud. And last but not least, your muddy mangrove roots. And the Enderman's tag was updated to be able to pick up the mud blocks. You can actually see this when you press F3. If you look at the right, you can see it's part of the list Enderman holdable. As you can see here, the Mangrove Roots block can also be used as a fuel source. And again, using the F3 screen here, we can see the roots have another interesting property, which is that they can be waterlogged. So if I come down to the water and place them, you can see that they soak up the water that they're placed into. However, if we are to quickly replace a block like this, you can see that when it's got water sources either side of it, it doesn't then fill up. And that probably sounded really strange, so let me show you what I mean. Like, you place a slab like that and the water flows onto it. So the water can't flow in, but the water also can't flow out, so you can contain water like in one spot. And then if you go ahead and put another one on top of it and fill that up, you can see it fills in the visual space, because normally it leaves a little at the top. So let's put down some lava next door, and it flows over and creates cobblestone. So that's a nice, easy cobblestone generator right there. And here's another interesting quirk. You can power it with redstone, and you can power it with redstone when it's waterlogged. How cool is that? You can also move the block with a piston. If you do this with a waterlogged one though, it does lose its water. But then again, if you power it with the correct tick length, it will actually keep the water, which is rather curious. Although pulling it back, it doesn't retain it. And if you've been wondering about the wood and mining speeds, it's pretty much the same as all other wood. I've got haste 2, I've got efficiency 5, and there's no way to instant mine any of these blocks. So it turns out I missed an interesting detail around the frogs, which turns out to be not as exciting as it originally sounds. When we look at the lily pad, there is a new tag called Frog Prefer Jump To. And this also applies to the drip leaf as well. You can see there's a lot of frogs on land over there, and they have mostly been spawned over here. The big issue is that once they're in the water, they basically swim for land. So although they can pick to jump to these lily pads and drip leaves as a preference, they tend to end up going inland anyway. And when they do land on these drip leaves, they fall through it eventually as well. But it's cool that they can look at the lily pads and jump to them. In terms of it being a preference though, it just feels like eventually they end up on land and they kind of stay over there. Now I think it'd be really cool if they had a stronger inclination towards these blocks, and maybe they could land on the drip leaves and not set them off like the player does, because then you could have, you know, a bunch of frogs doing parkour in your world, and who doesn't want that? And there were some other minor details I missed out too, like here in the main menu there's going to be some new splash text, which is the yellow font right here. These say, shriek like a skull shrieker, ribbit, no, flower forest TM perfume, hat Fridays, who let the frogs out, and croak team. And don't blink or you'll miss it, but when you go to create new world, it says preparing for world creation. And also in the F3 screen up here at the top, there is now a GPU measurement. Gives you a percentage readout for how much of your GPU is being used. And that is it, my friends. Please do let me know with a comment down below if you enjoy this part 2 follow-up, if you like that format, as it's something I might continue doing. if I miss things. But yeah, thank you for watching the video, and I'll see you soon with another one. Bye bye.